Okay, our last topic of the day is kind of a weird, interesting milestone. It's the 100 point club for this season, 2022-2023 season. As we know, there's a couple players that already hit it. The Edmonton guys, Pastrnak, but there's a couple guys on the cusp of it. Who do you guys think? Who do you guys? Where do you think it stops? Who do you think is the last player to get into this? And who are the players that you guys are surprised about that are in this conversation?
So just looking at it here, just to finish that list of guys who are at 100. So McDavid, Draisaitl, Cooch at 106, Tkachuk at 102, Pasta is also at 102. And then we got a 5 point decrease. We're going down to Jason Robertson at 97, McKinnon at 97, Nugent Hopkins at 97, Patterson at 96, Marner 95, Carlson 95, ranked at 92. Those are all your 90-point getters. Do we think that's where it ends, or do we see any of the 89-point guys, which is Hughes, Thompson, and Point, getting into that conversation? Those are guys who would probably have to bring up their point per game rate to get into the conversation. If I had to choose one of those names, just think about it now, I'd actually go with Thompson because Hughes and Point play for playoff teams. I wouldn't be surprised if they get rest down the stretch. Whereas Thompson, right, like
He
he
Good
needs to
point.
get
just
in.
got games here. Just thinking about that there. But we could have 12 100-point getters. I think if we're looking at who's the most surprising guy who's going to hit 100, it's got to be Nugent Hopkins, right? 97 points for Nuge, 35 goal season, 62 points. Power play points. How many power play points does Brian Nugent Hopkins have,
Oh,
guys?
it's like sixty
It's like
percent.
56.
He's got 50 on the dot.
Oh, wow.
McDavid's got 68, and Draisaitl has 58. Then you got
Holy
Nuge with
smokes.
50, but that's still more than half of his points, right? That's the difference. When you look at McDavid, 58 of 140 whatever points, that's only a third of his point percentage, right? Point total. Same goes for Draisaitl, 58 to like 120. It's almost half, but Nuge is more than half. He has definitely been
A
a
beneficiary.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I want to call him the power play merchant. I know we like to refer to Huberdeau as the secondary assist merchant. But listen, Nugent Hopkins isn't doing it just on assists. He's
It's
got a 35 goal season, right?
Yeah. Here's like the thing with that is like we could like on like by looking at it, you could definitely say power play merchant, but you have to be there. Like it's not like he's just getting by. Like he's not just on the ice. Like you said, he's producing. He's 35 goals. How many of them are power play goals though?
He's got 14. Like that's a respectable number. It's not like he's
That's a pretty good number actually. Like
yeah.
I like scoring on the power play is not like it's not all cut and dry. Like you've got to be in the right
an-
positions, right?
another thing. Another thing we do need to make sure that people understand is that the power play is a team stat, and the Oilers have the best power play in the league. I think it's at like 32% or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
It's on pace for I don't know if it's best in NHL history. It might be like the best clip in
If
NHL
if
history.
it's not already, I'd be very like I think the only one that maybe like who could compare to that? Maybe the Gretzky Oilers. If you were to tell
Yeah.
me like top three like all times, I would say Gretzky Oilers, a year with the Mario like the Lemieux Yager Penguins, and these guys, right? Like who else is putting up those insane like those are video game numbers. If you were playing Hut, that's the type of power play that you want, like that you're getting, right? You're getting superhumans on there.
I think we do have to point out that although his name makes sense to be on this list at 97 points, McKinnon has done this in only 64 games. He's got the fourth highest point per game clip in the league. You've got actually third. There's a guy who's got 2 points in one game. We're not counting him. McDavid's got 1.9 points a game. Draisaitl at 1.6. McKinnon's at 1.52. 97 points in 64 games is pretty freaking nuts. The next highest guy is Tkachuk at 1.38. So that's a steep drop off there. He's been on fire, and it kind of feels like that's gone under notice. Like when we think about Colorado's year and who's been the most dominant guy, I think we bring up the guy with the lower point total. I feel like we talk more about Rantanen. And listen, he gets total credit. He's on this list, and he's a guy who could definitely get to 100 points as well. But for all the praise that McKinnon gets, it almost feels like this is the year where he should get it, and he hasn't really got as much.
I think that
100%.
I just think that McKinnon's in that class where it's not that he's too good,
We
but
expect
it's
it.
yes,
I think it's
Yes.
yes.
that, right?
I
Yeah.
think he is too, Brian. I think you brought up a good point. Like last year, if you remember, me and you had a conversation when Austin Matthews won the Hart Trophy. Like you were like, yeah, he scored 60 goals, but McDavid was on otherworldly pace. I was like, but McDavid is on that pace every year. Like you can't just keep giving him the same pace unless he exceeds the limits. This year, he's going to win the Hart Trophy, the Art Ross Trophy, give him the goddamn Norris Trophy for
Give him the
all I
Vesna,
care,
bro.
right? Give him everything. He deserves everything because he's been on an otherworldly pace. Last year, Austin Matthews was on that, that 60 goal pace that we hadn't seen for 10 years. And now we saw it this year, right? With McDavid, who passed his goal total.
It's
So
it's just like
yeah, no, it's insane.
it's just
It's
that
insane.
it's just that with McKinnon, it's like he's in that category where it's like it just that is the expectation, that is the bar. I'm not surprised. Meanwhile, with Nuge is known to be like the third biggest bust in like NHL like the past 10 years. Like I don't want to be disrespectful because I think he's a good player, but was he first overall good?
I think he's shed that label
Right?
now, right? Like,
But with these
but dude,
numbers,
even before this season, these numbers is like, oh my god. But like, he became the shutdown center last year. I want to say, right? Like he was, I think, like a 60-point pace, which is a second line center. That's in line with expectations. It's
but
not bad
but it's still not like one overall. Now with these
for
97,
sure.
with this whatever you said, 97, 95,
97 points.
that is number one overall pick
Yeah,
potential, right? And it's weird
Yeah,
because he
100%.
literally hit this. It's been like 13 years since he's been in the league,
yeah.
right? So good on him.
So something that we talked about in the chat really quick. We were talking about some of these players who hadn't hit the 100-point total yet. And the two that was really surprising to me, and I think we agreed, was McKinnon and Marner have never had 100-point seasons. So crossing our fingers that things go well for both of them. Yeah, that's going to be the first one. McKinnon in
That's surprising.
2018-19 had 99 points. 2017-18, I believe that was the year that he was runner-up to Hull for Hart Trophy voting. He had 97. 1920,
Wow.
he had 93 points, and then that was cut off by COVID. And this year, 97, he should get the deed done. But that's 1, 2, 3 straight 90-plus point seasons.
Just
Where
needs
he
one extra
just
one.
fell short. Yeah, and
Yeah.
Marner had the 94-point season that was in 2018-19 to Tavares' first year, where they were just like a magical duo. And last year he had 97 in only 72 games. So, yeah, that was just surprising too.
If I'm not mistaken, that COVID year also like it really like okay, so you brought up like a player like McKinnon and Marner didn't hit 100 points. I think
Yeah.
like everybody lost around 9 to 10 games that year. There was other players that year who were like I'm looking at Austin Matthews who actually would have maybe potentially broke the Leafs goal scoring record that year before he did it this past like last season. Like everybody people were on pace for record numbers, but because the league got shut down for for the last 10 games of the season, they just it's like the biggest what if, right? Like what if they all hit that number back that year. So unfortunately, yeah, it's looking like wow, it's surprising that this is going to be the first time that they've hit 100 points, but you also have to look at the landscape of the league over the past 3 years, right? Some of these players have lost, a lot of time because of, what happened a few years ago. So good for them that it's finally going to happen for them. I think it's just well overdue. I think it could have already happened, basically.
There's also two players I just want to shout out quickly. Jason Robertson is the highest scoring Dallas Star like ever. I think he clips that last
Crazy
night.
to think about, man. Yeah,
And he's not
that's
done yet.
Medano.
Yes, and
Yeah.
he's not done yet.
Wow.
And I don't think this is the end for him. I think that next year he only gets better. He's only gotten better in the past couple years. So Dallas, bright future ahead. I think they're gonna go far in this playoffs too. I don't want to jinx them, but yeah, another player I just want to shout out.
Hey,
Huh?
yeah, I was about to say like same thing. You could say the exact same thing. I don't know if you're going to bring up this player. I have a feeling you might, but is it going to be Tage Thompson?
No, the player I wanted.
Actually, it's going to be a Swedish guy.
Yes.
but a forward, not the defenseman.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I want to shout out Elias Pettersson. Elias Pettersson, since the day he was drafted, I remember watching his draft class, like the draft perspective or whatever, and I saw his silky hands, and I says, if this guy ever puts on weight, he'll be amazing. And it seems like he's put on weight, but the weight of the Vancouver Canucks is on his back right now, and he's going full speed ahead.
It's a lot of weight.
Dude, I gotta say, okay, so when you guys look at Patterson, like who's the comparable that comes to your mind? Could be a current player or former player, because I've kind of thrown him in with this one guy, and I'm just convinced that's the comparable for him. Do you guys have a
Is he,
player that
is,
comes
he
to
a,
mind?
is he a former Swede that you're thinking of?
Yes, we're probably gonna think of the same person.
Is it Henrik Zetterberg? No,
No.
'Cause
I
what-
feel like different
I don't want to say
body
Matt.
types.
because what I was
I say Matt's, bro.
Are you saying Matt's? I'm
I do say
thinking
Matt's.
more like Alfie a little bit, but
You
Matt's is
could.
a good. Matt's is
I
really
just
like,
feel
dude.
like
If you're
they're
getting compared
tall,
to him,
lanky dudes, right? Yeah, I know. It's definitely a
You're right.
compliment. Yes, a tall,
I mean,
lanky dude. And what's
you
one of their
could go-
lethal weapons is their slapper, right?
Dude,
Like
you could go
Pedersen
down
on
the
that power
list.
play. Yeah,
You go down the list of like the past 20 years of Swedish hockey, you compare Elias Pettersson to any one of them, the Sedin twins, Henrik Zetterberg, Alfredson, Matt Sundin. You compare Elias Pettersson to any one of them, and he might be more talented than all of them, right? Like the sky honestly is the limit. I know Brian was
I'm huge on
hell
him.
bent.
He's
He
so
was
talented.
huge on him as soon as he got drafted. Like me and I remember the heated arguments we had about him. I never saw it until this year, honestly. Like, you know what, good for him that he's having his breaking out party. Maybe it's taken a little bit longer. I wouldn't even call it a breaking out party because he's actually been relatively good. I think last year was his first year of a bit of regression. But before that, it was like he was just kept improving. He had that regression, and now he's like supernova, and he looks to only burn brighter. If only his team around him could just, give him some extra support. That's it.
and doesn't that sound like Matt Sundin too? That's part of the comparison.
You know what? I think you sold me there, Christian. Honestly,
I think that Pedersen is going to be in that category where we see McKinnon, Draisaitl right now. Eventually, it just organizationally, I just think the Canucks just need to give him a little bit more support, not just like on like paper. Like the team itself is like on paper looks good. I'm talking about like management. They need to figure something out for him, and once that happens, we'll see how much damage he really can do. It's almost like he's a dull blade. Like they just need to sharpen it up, and then there's gonna be some damage.
That's a pretty sharp dull blade. If he's at what is it, 96 points right now? Like holy.
Yes, it's a dull blade, but we put it over fire, so it's hot.
Of potential.
Yes,
it's the greatest material ever. They just kind of sharpened.
All right. Anything else you guys want to shout out for the last little bit? Any other players you guys want to mention?
So the last one that you said before, I thought you were gonna lean into. I guess I'll give my flowers to Tage Thompson. I know me and Christian have been big on him all year. Well, you said about the things that you said about Robertson could fit the exact same things for Tage Thompson, barring the playoff run, because they're not going to make the playoffs. Unfortunately, I feel so bad for Sabres fans because they had such a great year, and it feels so bad that they couldn't get over that hump. But it's going to happen, guys. Just stick with it. I know Sabres fans are like, please just give us something. I think this year is that start. We started seeing, some of the groundwork being laid last year. You guys have a good all you need is a good offseason, not even a great offseason. I'm not saying you have to win the offseason. Have a good offseason. You guys are going to be right in it. Get a goalie first, please, for the love of God. Get some goaltending help.
They might have got him, man. He might have made his debut.
He might have
yesterday or 2 days ago. So we'll keep an eye on that.
You want to bring him up a little bit, or like?
Yeah, I think Devin Levi's going to get 100 points. I think he can do
100 points in net. He's going to get the Art Ross and the Vezina all in one.
Yeah. I think we can talk about Devin Levi when he gives us a little bit more of a sample size, but early returns, pretty good. Pretty good.
They're looking good.
Yeah.
So
do you want to talk about Hughes, Brian?
I don't think he's going to get to 100. I think that he's finally shown up that he is like an amazing player. We've been waiting for this, right? And we're still waiting because he hasn't hit that prime peak potential yet. The Devils are going to be deadly. They will be for a while, which is not a good thing. If you're in the East, that's not like what you want to hear. But at the end of the day,
Who hits 120 points first, Jack Hughes or Dawson Mercer? I'm kidding.
there's a chance that Eichel never hits 120 points, but only time will tell.
Wow.
You
You know
guys
what?
could-
Even a solid 100-point guy for him, that's still, I don't know if it's exceeding expectations, but like that's expectations now for
I think
a
they'd settle
first
with
overall
that.
pick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I mean, I know Jersey's settling for a 100-point season
So-
because they still haven't had one.
So, boys, on the list that we have here of the 100-point club or potential 100-point club, if you guys were going to get a jersey from any of these guys, where would you go?
All of them.
Or like, but where would you
Yeah.
go to buy the jersey? Like,
Oh, NHLshop.com.
okay.
Obviously.
NHLshop.ca, that is the best place that you can go to buy NHL jerseys. Use our link below. Shout out to Razor. You can watch Hockey Night in Canada on Fubo TV. Hockey Night in Canada will be covering, I believe, every single night of the first round will be Hockey Night in Canada. And you can catch it on Fubo TV. Thank you for listening.
I think they cover the whole playoffs, Bri. Hockey Night in Canada.
Hockey Night in Canada will be covering the whole playoffs.
I think.
Also,
So stick to Fubo. Yeah,
Stick to
yeah.
Fubo,
Go download Fubo right now. I'm telling you.
use our links below. Also, check out Dave's TikToks.
Yeah.
More records coming your
And
way.
tell me if you guys enjoy the new formats of our TikToks. Tell me if they keep your attention span.
I'll tell you what,
Because I'll tell you one thing, they keep my attention span.
and I
Can't believe
appreciate
we
you
live in
making,
this world.
and I appreciate you
What was
making the
that,
Dave.
Christian?
But we're gonna end it there.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.